In a world obsessed with carefully plotted business plans and calculated investments, the idea of accidentally amassing a billion-dollar fortune seems almost mythical. We often hear stories of titans of industry, hedge fund managers, or tech moguls who meticulously strategized their way to the top. But what if the path to 9 zeros wasn't paved with intentional ambition, but with a series of unexpected decisions, experiments, and a sheer lack of foresight regarding the monumental scale of success it would eventually unleash? This is the story of a young man who, through an unlikely sequence of events, became a billionaire not by design, but by a fortunate accident of strategy. Our story begins not in a boardroom, but in a suburban bedroom, with a teenager named Jimmy Donaldson. Long before he was known globally as MrBeast, Jimmy was just another aspiring YouTuber, fascinated by the platform's potential. His early videos were a far cry from the elaborate, high-budget productions he's famous for today. They were typical for the era: gaming commentaries, estimations of other YouTubers' wealth, and often, just Jimmy talking into a camera. There was no grand vision of a billion-dollar enterprise, just a relentless curiosity and a desire to crack the YouTube algorithm. The unexpected success of the counting video sparked an idea, not for a business, but for more viral content. Jimmy realized that extreme, never-before-seen stunts, especially those involving large sums of money, could generate immense viewership. He started filming himself giving away money to strangers, donating to small streamers, and undertaking increasingly bizarre challenges involving cash. At this point, the goal wasn't to build a billion-dollar company, it was to create content that would stand out and go viral. He was investing his own, often meager, earnings back into these stunts, not foreseeing the financial behemoth this would become. What followed was an extraordinary feedback loop. The more money Jimmy gave away, the more views he garnered. The more views he got, the more advertising revenue YouTube generated. And crucially, a significant portion of that revenue was immediately reinvested into even bigger, more spectacular giveaways and stunts. It was a self-sustaining cycle of generosity and growth, completely unlike traditional business models. He wasn't building a product or offering a service in the conventional sense. He was building an audience by literally giving his earnings away, a strategy that, by all traditional metrics, should have been unsustainable. As his channel exploded, Jimmy Donaldson started to attract major brand sponsorships, eager to reach his massive, engaged audience. This infusion of external capital allowed him to escalate his stunts to unprecedented levels, building real-life Squid Game sets, giving away private islands, and even houses. This wasn't just YouTube, it was a phenomenon. His accidental strategy of reinvesting nearly everything into content was now attracting institutional money. He had inadvertently stumbled upon a revolutionary model where content itself was the product, and its value was amplified by the sheer scale of his generosity. The shift from hobbyist content creator to a legitimate business entity happened almost imperceptibly. His relentless pursuit of viral content, driven by an experimental mindset rather than a corporate one, had created an immense brand. Then, around 2025, the financial world began to take notice. Analysts and investors, accustomed to valuing tech startups and media companies, started to put a number on the MrBeast empire. This wasn't just about ad revenue anymore, it was about the merchandising, the spin-off brands like MrBeast Burger and Feastables, and the sheer cultural impact. That's when the term billion-dollar valuation started appearing. But why call it accidental? Jimmy Donaldson certainly intended to be a successful YouTuber. He worked incredibly hard, day and night, refining his craft. But accident lies in the unforeseen scale and unconventional pathway to that billion-dollar mark. No business school curriculum would ever suggest give away all your profits as a viable strategy to create a global conglomerate. His early decisions were rooted in a desire to entertain and experiment, not to construct a carefully calculated financial empire. The immense wealth was an unexpected byproduct, a side effect of a radical approach that simply snowballed beyond anyone's wildest predictions. This story stands in stark contrast to figures like Jim Simons, the legendary hedge fund manager who earned billions through sophisticated algorithms and calculated market plays. Or even George Soros, who famously made $1 billion by intentionally crashing the British pound. These were deliberate, strategic financial maneuvers. Jimmy Donaldson, on the other hand, became a billionaire by doing something that, on the surface, seemed financially counterintuitive. He didn't invent a new technology or revolutionize an industry through a traditional business model. He simply found a way to leverage generosity into an unprecedented form of engagement and, ultimately, massive value. The accidental nature of his rise also influences his philosophy. While the fortune is undeniably massive, the original motivation to make epic content and entertain still seems to drive him. The money, in many ways, serves as a tool to fuel even larger, more ambitious projects. He's not just sitting on his wealth, he's constantly pushing the boundaries of what's possible on YouTube, demonstrating that an accidental billionaire can still maintain the spirit of a passionate creator. This ongoing reinvestment means that accident is constantly being fed, growing larger and more impactful with each new venture. Jimmy Donaldson's story has had a ripple effect across the digital landscape. It challenged conventional wisdom about what it takes to succeed online and how value is created. Many have tried to replicate his success, but few have come close to achieving his scale, largely because that accidental component, the genuine, experimental spirit and the willingness to take massive financial risks without a clear billion-dollar endpoint in mind, is hard to manufacture. His path serves as a powerful reminder that sometimes, the greatest fortunes are found not by following a meticulously charted course, but by daring to venture into uncharted waters with an open mind. While MrBeast's journey embodies the spirit of accidental fortune through unconventional means, it's worth noting the vast sums seen by others, like Jim Simons. Simons, for example, personally earned $670 million in 2004, rising to $1.5 billion in 2005, $1.7 billion in 2006, and $2.8 billion in 2007, eventually hitting an estimated $2.6 billion in 2020. These figures are staggering, certainly in the multi-billion range, and while they stem from highly intentional and sophisticated trading strategies, they highlight the sheer scale of wealth that a single individual can accrue. But the pathway remains distinct, accidental versus deliberate. To truly appreciate the accidental gain of $1 billion, we can look at its inverse, the accidental loss. Consider the British man, James Howells, who famously threw away a hard drive containing 7,500 bitcoins. At its peak value, that hard drive was worth hundreds of millions, possibly over $1 billion. For over a decade, he fought to recover it from a city landfill, a desperate struggle against an accidental oversight. His story is a poignant reminder that while some inadvertently gain, others inadvertently lose, highlighting the fine line between fortune and misfortune in the digital age. As MrBeast continues to innovate and expand his empire, the question remains, was his initial success a fluke, a lightning strike of viral content, or did he accidentally tap into a fundamental human desire for extreme entertainment and generosity? Whatever the answer, his story serves as a compelling case study that defies conventional business logic. It challenges us to reconsider how wealth is created, reminding us that sometimes, the most profound impacts come not from rigid adherence to established norms, but from a willingness to experiment, to embrace the absurd, and to let an unexpected chain of events unfold into something truly extraordinary.